Hello and welcome to our first grammar lesson for English writing. What we're going to do is we're going to have a little lessons like these, and they're going to kind of correspond and go with a couple of assessments and practice in Quill, right? So just more of a bit of an explanation, so it's not just me saying do this, and eventually what we're going to hopefully start doing after we're finishing newspapers, or even during newspapers to be honest, is how can we start implementing these strategies, right? How can we start using what we see here and actually looking for them in our writing, right? And what we're really going to focus on for a very long time is the idea of sentence structure, and then we've done a little bit of things here and there with that, and we've already done some of this, I know, but we're going to repeat it. We're going to make it a little more concrete, and you might have done some of this with Miss Sarah, but we're just going to do it, and if you've already done it, then you'll get it. Okay, and so what we're starting with is coordinating conjunctions, basically ways to combine two sentences, right? We're using specifically and, or, but, or so. By the end of this, what you're hopefully going to be able to do is combine sentences using all of these in order to create a compound sentence. A compound sentence, remember, has two ideas within a sentence, right? Two ideas within a sentence, but instead of having two shorter, choppy sentences, you have a little bit more flow. So this is kind of an introduction. I know we've used these words a lot, but knowing their purpose sometimes is different than you being able to use them. I use words all the time that sometimes if someone were to ask me like, do you know what this means? I don't think I could answer that with a yes. All right, so the word and, right? It's used when we want to add two ideas together, right? You're adding two different ideas into one sentence. Or is when there's choices or options though. And I notice and or are often used kind of interchangeably, but they are different. And usually it's more different of ideas, or is you have the option, right? I don't want to use too many examples because we will have examples later on. But is when there's an opposite idea, right? So they came up with an idea in the original sentence, and there's some little bit of a contradiction, right? The entire class loved pizza, but Mr. Callum wasn't a fan of it. Now that's obviously not true. I love pizza as much as the next person. What I'm showing you though is that there was an idea and then there was a contradiction. All right? Or the whole class loved pizza, but Mr. Callum ordered tacos instead. Okay, there's an opposite of what the goal of the sentence was. The last one, so, it's kind of explaining why. All right? So the first idea is the reason the second idea happened. Cause and effect. Something happened, something else resulted because of that. The pilot had a heart attack on the plane, so Brian had to fly it in the air by himself, right? Cause and effect. So this is sentence modeling. So joining these words can be done. We can combine these two different sentences into one sentence, right? Our goal is to combine them and figure out the ideas, how are they related, and choosing the best words. So of those four words, what will be the best to combine them? So our sentence is, our best player had an injury. He couldn't play in the final game. And what I've done is I've changed this to our best player had an injury, comma, so he couldn't play in the final game. And the reason I said that was it was cause and effect, right? It wasn't two separate ideas necessarily, because we might be tempted to say our best player had an injury and he couldn't play in a final game. I mean, that is excusable. That's grammatically incorrect. But to me, it's cause and effect. Because of his injury, the effect is he couldn't be in the final game. So this is the big thing here in this little area. Watch where my mouse is. You're going to write the sentence, write the first sentence, and then you add this comma, right? A lot of times, especially when we're using and, it's not always important when you're just combining two ideas. But when you're combining almost two separate sentences, that comma and the and does definitely help, right? And then you're going to put a comma, your joining word, and then you add a second sentence. So here are some examples. So what we're going to do is just going to pause the video after I'm done talking, and you'll find which of these sentences use the correct relationship and which do not. All right, so the local zoo is giving away free tickets for Mother's Day and only to the first 25 customers. COVID-19 continues to spread, so the UAE shut down all flights in and out of the country. During self-isolation, I can either watch The Avengers or play NBA 2K20. Most of the class doesn't like e-learning, so they think Mr. Callum gives too much homework. Which of one of these aren't correct? Pause it and try to find where you're right and wrong. Okay, so so these are the answers, right? The ones in the middle are correct, right? Because number 2, COVID-19 continues to spread. The effect is the UAE shut down all flights in and out of the country. For option number 3, it is a option, right? It's either I watch the Avengers or I play NBA. For number 1, it says the local zoo is giving away free tickets for Mother's Day. And this is where I see most people kind of struggle with this concept. And they'll say, and they only give it to the first 25 customers. But to me, it's more of a but, right? They're giving away free tickets, but it's only to a certain amount of people, right? It's almost like the opposite. It's like, it's free, but there's something with it. And the last one, most of the class doesn't like e-learning. I put, so they think Mr. Callum gives too much homework, right? But it's not really cause and effect, right? They have two separate ideas. They don't like e-learning, and they think I give too much homework or too much work, right? Those are separate ideas that are related to each other. Okay, it's not really a cause and effect. So in order to wrap this up, right, we're talking about connecting words, joining them, and specifically using the word that has the best example. What I suggest you do is let's go back. I suggest you look at this right here as you go through your questions on Quill. All right, complete the 4 quizzes on Quill, and that's all there is today on ELA.